Somewhere in a kitchen right now, a parent is making dinner for their baby, and out of habit, out of love, they add a small pinch of salt, just to make it taste like actual food. And that single habit, repeated over days and weeks, has killed infants. Not because salt is some rare toxin. You have it in your cupboard right now. You put it on your chips an hour ago and felt nothing. But give that same white crystal, in tiny amounts, to a baby under 12 months old, and their body cannot do what yours does every single day without you ever noticing. This is the story of why the exact same substance can be background noise to one body and a genuine medical emergency to another, and why the difference has nothing to do with the salt, and everything to do with an organ the size of a fist that hasn't finished being built yet. But to understand why salt can hurt a baby, and not you, you first need to understand what salt is actually doing inside a body that's working the way it's supposed to. Salt isn't just flavor. Sodium, the part of salt your body actually cares about, is one of the most important electrolytes you have. It regulates the fluid balance in and around every one of your cells. It helps transmit the electrical signals that fire your nerves and contract your muscles, including the muscle that happens to be your heart. Every heartbeat you've ever had needed sodium to make it happen. So sodium isn't the villain here. You'd die without it. The question was never whether sodium is dangerous. It's what happens when there's more of it than your body can process, and who gets to decide how much is too much. That job belongs to your kidneys. Somewhere inside those two organs, your blood is constantly being filtered, and your kidneys are making a decision, second by second, about how much sodium to keep and how much to dump out as waste in your urine. Eat a salty meal, and your kidneys ramp up sodium excretion to compensate. Your blood sodium level barely moves. You never feel it happening. It is one of the most well-oiled, invisible systems in your entire body, and adult kidneys are extraordinarily good at it. A healthy adult kidney can concentrate urine so efficiently that it can flush out a genuinely large sodium load without breaking a sweat. A newborn kidney cannot do this, not because it's damaged, because it isn't finished. And there's a detail that makes this even more dramatic. Pound for pound, a newborn's body is roughly 75% water by weight. An adult's is closer to 60%. That extra water should, in theory, be a buffer. Instead, it means an infant's blood sodium concentration can swing further and faster for the exact same dose of salt relative to body size, because there's a completely different ratio of water moving that sodium around in the first place. Here's the number that matters. An adult kidney can concentrate urine up to roughly 4 times more powerfully than a newborn's can. That gap isn't a small technicality, it's the entire story. The structures inside the kidney responsible for concentrating urine and excreting excess sodium, the nephrons, are still maturing well into a baby's first year of life. A newborn simply does not have the plumbing to dump a large sodium load quickly. Give an adult body extra sodium, and it treats it like a routine chore. Give an infant body the same relative amount, and it has nowhere efficient to send it. This isn't a design flaw, it's simply timing. The filtering units inside the kidney, the nephrons, are all present by around 36 weeks of pregnancy, but having the parts isn't the same as the system running at full capacity. The filtration rate of a newborn kidney sits at a small fraction of adult levels at birth, and it climbs steadily over the first 2 years of life as the whole system matures into its final form. Every baby is, quite literally, running an early beta version of the exact same organ you're using right now to process everything you had for lunch. So what happens instead? The sodium builds up in the blood. Doctors call this hypernatremia, and in an infant, it doesn't stay in the blood. It starts pulling water out of the body's cells to try to balance the concentration. That includes the cells in the brain. As water is pulled out, brain cells shrink. And when that happens quickly, in a small body with a small blood volume to begin with, the result isn't mild discomfort. It's seizures. It's swelling that follows the shrinking. Early on, the signs are easy to miss. Unusual lethargy, a high-pitched, weaker cry than usual, a fever with no obvious infection behind it, By the time it's obvious that something is seriously wrong, the sodium level has often already climbed far past the point where the body can self-correct. The encouraging part, if there is one, is that when it's caught early enough and treated in a hospital with carefully controlled fluids, recovery is genuinely possible. The danger isn't that this is always fatal. It's that it's fast, and it doesn't look like an emergency until it very suddenly is one. In severe documented cases in medical literature, it has been fatal, sometimes within hours of the sodium load being given. This is not a hypothetical designed to scare you. It has actually happened, tragically, in real documented cases, almost always by accident. A parent mistaking table salt for sugar or for formula powder while preparing a bottle in the middle of the night. Exhausted, on autopilot. A homemade rehydration mix measured wrong. A well-meaning grandparent adding a pinch of salt or a spoon of stock to a baby's food because that's simply how they've always cooked. None of these cases involve anyone trying to cause harm. That's actually the most unsettling part. The margin for error is thinner than almost anyone realizes, and the substance responsible is sitting in every kitchen on Earth, completely unregulated, because for every adult in that kitchen, it is genuinely harmless. And it's rarely the salt shaker alone that causes the real danger. It's the sodium hiding in things nobody thinks to check. A stock cube crumbled into soup for flavor. A splash of soy sauce in a stir-fry shared with a toddler. Cured meats, certain cheeses, ready-made sauces, all of them carrying sodium loads that would be completely unremarkable on an adult's plate, and meaningfully higher on a baby's. None of this requires a dramatic mistake. It just requires nobody in the kitchen realizing that the same forkful means something entirely different, depending on whose mouth it's going into. This is also exactly why breast milk and infant formula are so precisely engineered. They are already calibrated to deliver exactly the sodium a developing body needs, and not a gram more. Health guidelines in most countries are blunt about this. Babies under 12 months shouldn't be given any added salt at all, not because a single grain is instantly dangerous, but because their kidneys have almost no buffer room for error, and because sodium adds up fast across a full day of food when nobody's tracking it. An adult's daily safe intake is measured in grams. An infant's is a small fraction of that, and it comes from milk alone. This is exactly why pediatric health bodies around the world keep repeating the same advisory year after year. No added salt for babies under 12 months. Full stop. Not a pinch to season the vegetables. Not a taste test off your own plate. Not just this once at a family dinner. It sounds almost comically strict for something that seems this ordinary, and that's exactly the point. The advice isn't calibrated for the one time it happens. It's calibrated for the fact that a body with almost zero margin for error can't tell the difference between a one-off mistake and a pattern, and by the time anyone notices something is wrong, the sodium is already where it shouldn't be. Now here's the part that flips the story again, because this isn't actually a fixed rule about salt. It's a rule about time. The same baby who cannot safely process a pinch of added salt at 3 months old will, by their first birthday, have kidneys that are dramatically more capable. By early childhood, that capability keeps climbing, until eventually, that same body has become one of the millions of adult bodies casually salting dinner without a second thought. The threshold didn't move because the substance changed. The substance never changed. The organ changed. Every single one of us was, at some point, a body that could be seriously harmed by something currently sitting in your kitchen cupboard, and every single one of us grew out of it without ever consciously noticing the shift. And here's the part that should genuinely make you pay attention, because it isn't just salt. It's the entire premise flipped on its head. The same logic applies to sugar concentrations in homemade rehydration fluids, to certain medications dosed by adult-sized assumptions, to foods considered completely benign at the family dinner table. Age isn't just a number attached to a body. It's a completely different set of physiological rules running underneath the same species. And before you assume adults are simply immune, they're not. They're just standing much further from the edge. Marathon runners and soldiers in extreme heat have died from the opposite imbalance, drinking so much plain water that their own sodium gets diluted to dangerous levels. The threshold exists for everyone. It just sits in a very different place depending on the body carrying it. And the line between totally fine and medical emergency is often not the substance at all. It's the organ standing between the substance and the bloodstream, and whether that organ has finished being built yet. So the next time you're making dinner, and a baby is somewhere nearby, and your hand goes to the salt shaker out of pure habit, remember what's actually happening in that small body, sitting in the high chair a few feet away. The kidneys filtering exactly the same sodium molecule you just added, except this time, there's no 4 times stronger concentrating power waiting to handle it. Just an organ still under construction, doing the best it can with a system that isn't finished yet. The salt hasn't changed. It never does. It's the body underneath it that decides whether it's dinner or an emergency.